Seductress. These are the unvarnished stories of women who use their sexuality to manipulate men into doing things they ought not to. We're talking everything from theft to industrial espionage, and yes, sometimes even murder. These skin-deep beauties, once brought to light, ended up being absolutely ugly inside. Combined, these ladies are responsible for more men being imprisoned, murdered by ambushes, or fired for cause. We bring you bi-weekly the stories of innocent men who got led around by their peckers until their masculinity had been neutered. Alejandra Mulcahy, a very beautiful young lady from West Palm Beach, Florida, is about to risk her life and her freedom by entrapping her ex-boyfriend into being robbed with the promise of sex. Some of the smartest men in the world end up being the weakest when entering the presence of a woman who enjoys wrapping it around her little finger. We begin this episode of Seductress on a warm and muggy night in West Palm Beach, Florida. There, a young woman desperate for cash has just come up with the brilliant idea to get cash from another man using sex, but no plans of actually having sex. She figures not only will her plans satisfy her financial needs, but she won't have to work to attain this money because it belongs to him. Her great plan, as the saying goes, is to use what you got to get what you want. In short, sex for cash transaction with her ex-boyfriend. She is only 18 years of age. Mrs. Alejandra Mulcahy has the wherewithal to contact two men and her girlfriend to assist her in this petty crime that could end up getting her a capital offense charge. Alejandra, like many other attractive young ladies, insists that they are crafty enough to use their sexuality in order to get property that belongs to someone else, namely men. These women fail to understand that all traps that ultimately end up ensnaring the planner of the trap. Early that sunny Palm Beach morning, Alejandra finalized her devious plans before she contacted the victim, mainly her ex-boyfriend. She uses a time-honored ruse of pretending to reconcile an old relationship in order to benefit herself. She makes plans with her ex-boyfriend Gary Garshutz to come over for sex, but her actual plan is to have the men in her company rob him at gunpoint. Now this could go wrong by any number of means. Her ex-boyfriend is expecting Alejandra late that night for a sexual relationship, but not in exchange for money. He never planned on that. He believes that she is showing interest in him and healing the relationship once more. Although they were no longer civil to one another, Alejandra knows that most men will let their guards down to a woman when sex is involved, or trust. Her ex-boyfriend sees no reason to mistrust Alejandra, and for this, he leaves his front door to his apartment unlocked so she could easily get in upon her arrival. You're watching MNN, the men's channel. He is at the back of the house when she pulls up to the house, and he is not aware of her arrival. When the vehicle pulled up in front, two armed men were in the back of the seat of the car and two young women in the front seats. The driver was Alejandra's 17-year-old girlfriend, so she was involved in a minor in this particular crime. Now she sat beside Alejandra. The girls would not go into the house for the crime in order to stay safe from any fight that may occur from her boyfriend defending his own life. The girls would insist on hiding out close by in the shadows until the dirty deed had been completed, almost a half an hour later. The plan was for both men to separate in two different directions to attack her boyfriend unexpectedly. One of the men went around back of the residence carrying a shotgun that he would use to block his victim's exit from the rear of his own house, while the other man entered through the front door that was remained unlocked for Alejandra. Neighbors, whose home faced the backside of her ex-boyfriend's residence, would later testify that they clearly saw a man carrying a shotgun but did not know what to make of it. Once the two men had control of the home and he was caught off guard, they ransacked the house looking for valuables. A short while later, the men exited the house carrying multiple items including a laptop computer, cell phones, and other pawnable small electronics. The victim was also forced to leave the home at gunpoint with the men. Alejandro had told the perpetrators where he hid his valuables and where he banked every day. Because of this, her ex-boyfriend was driven to the local Bank of America at the corner of 100 block of Congress Avenue in West Palm Beach, where he was ordered at gunpoint to withdraw about $600 in cash. Now, he was then driven to Interstate 95 and North Lake Boulevard in West Palm Beach, where he was beaten and forced out of the car onto the highway. The men then went back to his residence where they picked up both girls and they spent the spoils of what they had just stolen from the ex-boyfriend. But like I said earlier, usually when you make these type of plans, they have the potential of coming back and blowing up in your face. After taking two witnesses and the victim at the crime scene, police were able to identify Alejandro as a passenger in the car that the 17-year-old was driving as they pulled up earlier to the apartment.
You're watching MNN, the men's channel.
Alejandro Mulcahy faced several charges including armed robbery with a firearm, kidnapping, home invasion, and grand theft with her accomplices 18-year-old Octavius Malone and 23-year-old Timothy Kyles Jr. The magistrate in the case, Judge Crow, tentatively set the case for all three to be tried simultaneously. But the mastermind, in an attempt to save herself alone, accepted a plea agreement and was sentenced as a juvenile. That's amazing within itself. Her attorney, Joshua Leroy, said prosecutors agreed to drop some of the charges and let her complete a juvenile offender program in exchange for her plea deal. He said she didn't set up the robbery. In her defense, she didn't hold any guns. She really didn't participate, he said. The biggest thing she did, in his opinion, was to hang out with the wrong crowd. Now, I never knew a robbery was hanging out with the wrong crowd. According to arrest records, his ex-girlfriend said she had been robbed shortly before the August incident and was looking for a way to recoup the money she lost. And she was going to recoup it through her ex-boyfriend. Now, Herrera called several people asking to borrow money and ended up settling on her ex-boyfriend, Gary Gershard, 20 years of age. She, Kyles, and Mulcahy went to Garchetti's River Beach home in the end. Police said the group robbed Garcetti, forced him to an ATM machine to withdraw money, and stole electronics, clothes, and other items from him and a friend. As we close this episode of Seductress, I give a warning for all those young men out there who wait an ex-girlfriend for a booty call. Do yourself a favor and make sure that your front door and your back door are locked. For Seductress, we thank you for watching.